We're back Sundays at 1 o'clock Mountain Daylight Time, broadcasting from bustling metropolitan Spanish Fork, Utah, the Krishna Lite Show. This is episode number 14, and we're going to start in on the very exciting story of how in Australia in 1972, both municipalities of Sydney and Melbourne decided, apparently independently, to ban the Hare Krishna devotees. We've sort of alluded to that in snippets throughout the past weeks, but now we're going to get the full story. In chapter 5, entitled Krishna Loves You Too, we're 192 pages through this book by Korma called The Great Transcendental Adventure, and it is an excellent, well-written, well-narrated account of how it was that Krishna consciousness got established in the continent down under. And by Bhavi, my wife and I, we joined in 1970 in Australia. We not from Australia, but just happened to be passing through. And we joined the movement, met devotees, Pendra, Bali Martin, and ended up staying. We came to Australia on 1-month tourist visas and ended up staying for 5 years because we wanted to help things get started on a ground level there. Pardon me if I take a lozenger. Just had a 2-hour Zoom call with the congregational members from the Salt Lake City Temple. It was very enlivening. But at 73 years old, my voice needs a lot of support and cushioning from lozengers and things like that. So we got an exciting show for you today. This is not an episode where Prabhupada is in Australia. The first 13 episodes of the Krishna Show had to do with Prabhupada's first visit to Australia in 1971. Then we segued to a second business visit in 1972. This is later in 1972. Australia, Prabhupada's not in Australia. We had Mohanananda come from America to take charge, and then after some time, Madhudvisa took charge from him. So most of this time, Madhudvisa, the sannyasi, is in charge. Prabhupada's not there, and the devotees are having their challenges. All right, so let's start with a song, as we normally do. This is from an album by MC Yogi called Rock On Hanuman. And as you know, Hanuman is the emblem of bhakti. Bhakti is defined as undivided, uninterrupted devotional service to the Lord. Nobody personifies bhakti better than Hanuman. And Hanuman wasn't a scholar, he wasn't a yogi, he wasn't a high-born human being. He just took birth as a Vanara, forest dweller, which is another name for monkeys. But his birth was not a disqualification. His lack of high aristocracy was not a lack of qualification, because Krishna is kind to the poor and the humble. For Krishna, there's no such thing as high or low. Krishna adores each and every of his creations, all living beings, doesn't matter in what embodiment they find themselves in the present incarnation. So Hanuman gave his all to Lord Ram. There's one story, in fact, where Hanuman was feeling a little chuffed about himself because in building the bridge to Lanka, he was throwing huge boulders and rocks. And there was a little chipmunk who was just kicking a little bit of dust. Hanuman felt he was doing so much. And compared to what he was doing, the chipmunk wasn't doing much at all. In fact, he was getting, he was a nuisance underfoot, you see. So Hanuman asked the chipmunk to stand aside so he could do the real work. And Ram happened to come up on the scene. He said, "Look, Hanuman," he said, don't get too taken with your powers. They come from me. And if I wanted to, I could transfer your powers to that of the chipmunk and the chipmunk's powers to you." And then legend has it that at that point, Ram bent over and to show his approval of the chipmunk with 2 or 3 fingers, he stroked his back, and it said that that's where the stripes originated, on the back of a chipmunk. So Hanuman is serving the Lord with the powers that the Lord himself has given him. That's the definition of bhakti. And that's why after I finish this song by MC Yogi called Rock On Hanuman, we're going to tack on another couple of songs, which I just picked up here and there, which seem to represent fairly well Hanuman's mood of giving himself in complete, undivided, uninterrupted, unconditional service to Lord Ram. See what you think of this medley of songs about the greatest bhakta of all, Sri Hanuman, from an album by MC Yogi called Rakhan Hanuman. We'll wait for the percussion to kick in here before we launch. I'm sorry if I'm a little hoarse. Been doing a lot of shows during the lockdown and the pandemic. You can tell. Hanuman Ji, son of the wind, lord of the monkeys, Rama's best friend. You eliminate illusion and you destroy all sin. You're known as Shiva's incarnation. Champion of the truth with the thunderbolt body, the mighty monkey god who embodies bhakti. You're the breath of Shakti. You achieve victory like the movie Rocky. You carry a club to smash the thugs. You're the perfect servant, the face of grace, and your heart is pure. You make the whole demon race tremble when you roar. In the service of the Lord, you're the demon destroyer, also known as the mighty monkey warrior. Compassion in action, devotion in motion, with the strength to leap the length of the ocean. Hanuman Ji, you have the power. Make yourself small as a cat, tall as a tower. You devour lust, ignorance, envy, and greed. You succeed and never cower in the hour of need. You leapt to Lanka to reassure Sita. Don't worry about a thing, because Rama's going to free you. You burn down Lanka when your tail is on fire. To serve Lord Rama is your only desire. When Ram's little brother was about to die, without a second thought you began to fly, searching for a cure high in the Himalayas. And when you weren't sure which herb to take him, homie, you brought the whole mountain back with one hand. That's why, Hanuman, you're Rama's best friend. You embody bhakti, the yoga of love, and that's why Ram gave you a great big old hug. You're the mighty monkey warrior of the epic Ramayana, repeating Ram's names, the holy Ram Nam. Singing kirtan with the cymbals in your hand, going on and on like a one-man band. Singing Jai Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Rocking on and on until the break of dawn. Singing Jai Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Rocking on and on until the break of dawn. Jai Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Rocking on and on until the break of dawn. There's another poem, I think, which persona. We can well imagine Hanuman making this prayer at the lotus feet of Lord Ram. Dear Ram, take my life and let it be consecrated to thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee. Take my lips and let them sing, always only for my King. Take my mouth and let it be filled with messages from thee. Take my silver and my gold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my intellect and use every power as thou shalt choose. Take my will and make it thine, it shall be no longer mine. Take my heart, it shall be thy own, it shall be thy royal throne. Take my love, my Lord, I pour at thy feet its treasure store. Take myself and I will be ever only all for thee. Jai Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Rocking on and on until the break of dawn, singing Jai Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Rocking on and on until the break of dawn. Long did I toil and found no earthly rest. Far did I roam and found a certain home. Until at last I sought them in Ram's sheltering breast, who opens his arms and bids the weary come. With Ram I found a home, a rest divine, and I since then am Ram's, and he is mine. The good I have is from his stores supplied, the ill is only what he deems the best. With Ram as friend, I'm rich with nothing beside, and poor without Ram, though of all possessed. Changes may come, I take or I resign, content while I am Ram's, and Ram is mine. Changes may come, but in Ram no change is seen. Ram is like a glorious sun that wanes not nor declines. Ram walks above the storms and clouds serene, and on his devotees inward darkness shines. While here, alas, I know but half Ram's love, but half discern him and but half adore. But when I meet Ram in the realms above, I hope to love him fully, praise him more, and show and tell amid the kirtans divine how fully I am his and he is mine. Singing Jai Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Rocking on and on until the break of dawn, singing Jai Ram, Si Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Rocking on and on until the break of dawn. Another year is dawning, dear Ram, let it be. In working or in waiting, another year with thee. Another year of progress, another year of praise, another year of proving your presence all the days. Another year of mercies, of faithfulness and grace. Another year of gladness in the shining of your face. Another year of leaning upon your sheltering breast. Another year of trusting, quiet, happy rest. Another year of service, of witness for thy love. Another year of training for holier work above. Another year is dawning, dear Ram, let it be, on earth or else in heaven, another year for thee. Jai Ram, Si Ram, Jai Jai Ram, rocking on and on until the break of dawn, singing Jai Ram, Si Ram, Jai Jai Ram, rocking on and on until the break of dawn. Hanuman Ji, son of the wind, lord of the monkeys, Rama's best friend. You eliminate illusion, you destroy all sin. You're known as Shiva's incarnation. Champion of truth with the thunderbolt body, the mighty monkey god who embodies bhakti. You're the breath of Shakti. You achieve victory like the movie Rocky. You carry a club to smash the thugs. You're the perfect servant, the face of grace, and your heart is pure. You make the whole demon race tremble when you roar. In the service of the Lord, you're the demon destroyer, also known as the mighty monkey warrior. Your compassion in action, devotion in motion, with the strength to leap the length of the ocean. Hanuman Ji, you have the power, make yourself small as a cat, tall as a tower. You devour lust, ignorance, envy, and greed. You succeed and never cower in the hour of need. You leapt to Lanka to reassure Sita. Don't worry about a thing, because Rama's going to free you. You burned down Lanka when your tail was on fire, and to serve Lord Rama is your only desire. When Ram's little brother was about to die, without a second thought you began to fly, searching for a cure high in the Himalayas. And when you weren't sure which herb to take him, homie, you brought the whole mountain back with one hand. That's why, Hanuman, you're Rama's best friend. You embody bhakti, the yoga of love. And that's why Ram gave you a great big old hug. You're the mighty monkey warrior of the epic Ramayana, repeating Ram's names, the holy Ram Nam, singing kirtan with the cymbals in your hand, going on and on like a one-man band, singing Jai Ram, Si Ram, Jai Jai Ram, rocking on and on until the break of dawn, singing Jai Ram, Si Ram, rocking on and on until the break of dawn, singing Jai Ram, Si Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Si Ram, Jai Jai Ram, rocking on and on until the break of dawn, singing Jai Ram, Si Ram, Jai Jai Ram. All right, we've officially opened what I believe is our 14th episode of the Krishna Lite Show. We've gotten 191 pages through this book that a devotee named Korma wrote about all the adventures of establishing Krishna consciousness in Australia between 1970 and 1975. Bhagavan and I were a big part of that. So Prabhupada's been and gone twice. He came in 71, he came in 72. This narration picks up in 72, a little bit later, just after Prabhupada's departure, and is going to talk about the extensive persecution on the part of both the Melbourne and the city councils to ban the Krishna conscious movement from chanting and distributing literature in downtown Sydney and downtown Melbourne. And if we have time today, we'll talk about organizing the first Ratha Yatra in Australia. But there's a lot about this very dramatic and very suspenseful season in the founding of Krishna consciousness, whereby the authorities such as they were, tried to stop the preaching missionary activities of ISKCON. So it starts out from a letter by Srila Prabhupada to me, Caru, who was the temple president during some of that period of time. Prabhupada says, go on with Sankirtan activities as you've been doing, and let them arrest you if they like. We will not stop. Better to forget this business of lawyers and judges and simply go on with Sankirtan. That is civil disobedience movement. Let them fill their jails with us again and again and again and again. So the narration picks up here. Civic harassment of the Sankirtan parties going out from the Sydney temple had now become a daily affair. On March 27th, just days before Srila Prabhupada's arrival, the Lord Mayor of Sydney had formally announced to the Sydney Council that the Hare Krishna movement street chanting was totally illegal. Ironically, although the council had subsequently initiated no fewer than 34 prosecutions against the devotees for alleged loitering. Only 6 summonses had been heard in the magistrate's court, and each one had been dismissed. No magistrate had seen fit to convict the devotees with loitering or obstruction. Despite the fact that all remaining summonses had been dropped by the council, they still stubbornly intended to restrain the devotees some way or other. The Sydney City Council had already expelled the devotees from Martin Place, a central and very, very popular Sydney plaza. Now, in a stormy evening debate, the Sydney City Council decided to take the unprecedented legal step to totally ban the devotees from the streets of Sydney. The Australian newspaper reported the event, quote, "Civic Reform aldermen voted to refer the matter to council solicitors after rejecting a lay recommendation to seek negotiations with the Hare Krishnas. Hare Krishna members watched silently from the public gallery, but vowed later to take the matter to the highest court. They said, 'We are negotiating to buy our own building in the city where we will carry on even if we are forced off the streets. We have been seeking talks with the council for 8 months to try to get agreement on street sites where we can worship, but the council will not see us.' At the meeting, the council was sharply divided in their views." This is a continuing article from the newspaper Australian. Alderman G.B. Draper accused the council of considering injunctions and imprisonment of the sect and urged negotiations to seek a compromise. He said developers were causing continued noise and obstruction to pedestrians, but council did not move to take action against them. Another council supporter of the sect, Alderman J. Calpin, said that he belonged to the Greek Orthodox Church, which also did a bit of chanting. He said, "I wouldn't like to see my own religion stopped." Alderman B. Lewis said the Krishna sect set out to defy authority. He said they chanted for hours outside offices and shops, making the business center a complete madhouse. The Lord Mayor, Sir Emmett Dermott, said a leader of the group had told a council ranger that it intended to continue performing with or without prosecution. Council could not accept that decision, he said. Council solicitors will consider legal action against the group via the local government. So then the narration continues on to the second day, which is the 29th of April, 1972. It was a Saturday night at the intersection of Darlinghurst Road and McKay Street, about 2 kilometers east of downtown Sydney. The reflected lights of King's Cross glittered and sparkled in the ephemeral spray from the famous dandelion-shaped globe of El Alamein fountain. The King's Cross landmark built to commemorate Australian troops killed in the decisive North African Battle of 1942. Sometimes compared to London's Soho or San Francisco's North Beach, King's Cross had become a popular venue for bohemians, tourists, and especially U.S. servicemen on leave from Vietnam. Becoming equally synonymous with the Cross, a party of about a dozen neatly dressed Hare Krishna devotees swayed next to the fountain to the metronome drum rhythms and clipped nasal tones of Upendra, who danced at their side. Understandably, it had been a popular spot for devotees ever since Martin first conducted his one-man kirtan here more than 2 years ago. Warmly dressed in the crisp winter air, the devotees followed their usual nighttime routine. They chatted for a while, then dispersed to sell back-to-Godhead magazines to passers-by, then more chanting. The line of devotees moved from the fountain through the heart of the cross and its customary circuit down Darlinghurst Road. Waves of people ambled along, bewildered drunken tourists in papier-mâché cowboy hats, bearded hippies, U.S. servicemen in zany gear and shades, identities and non-entities, locals and suburbanites, policemen in pairs with measured steps. They were all there, absorbing the sights and sounds and smells of the cross. In several shop doorways were little stands selling rings, leather trinkets, and incense. Prostitutes hovered in similar dark alcoves, clutching the symbolic handbag plying their trade without flair. For the devotees, however, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra cut through all the brash, sleazy, and blatantly vulgar tinsel that was King's Cross. The coarse clatter of the strip joint hustlers, live music from the wine bars, the disco sounds, and the occasional foul-mouthed, staggering drunk all seemed irrelevant. It flowed without effect. This was the miracle of chanting. Absorbed in the holy names of Krishna, the devotees felt themselves protected and immunized from the poisonous effects of Kali Yuga. They were sustained in their knowledge that as the kirtan party passed, Krishna's holy names would enter the ears of the sensuous King's Cross throng and start them on their spiritual journey. Two men in plain clothes suddenly lunged across the pavement towards Upendra. Grabbing his arms, they yanked him towards the nearby paddy wagon. A whole team of police had converged on the kirtan party in a well-planned attack, inspired by the recent decisions of city council. One by one, devotees were rounded up and marched into the cold, looming vehicle. By now, quite a crowd had gathered, some heckling, although mostly sympathetic. "Leave him alone, you mugs," cried an anonymous voice from the crowd. "Pigs," cried another. The steel door slammed shut. It was a quick, dark, and bumpy ride to nearby Darlinghurst police station. Minutes later, the doors opened and the devotees were marched into the station through a line of hard-faced policemen. "All right," said the sergeant from behind the desk. "Which ones are the boys and which ones are the girls?" His fellow officers guffawed along with him at the devotees' expense. "You won't be needing those," he said, indicating for another officer to collect the Bhakti-guided magazines from the ladies. A red-faced constable pointed at the pictures of Radha and Krishna on the cover of the magazines. "Who are they?" he said, then answered his own question with a blasphemous remark that offended the devotees' ears. After much laughing and joking amongst the police, the devotees' names and fingerprints were taken. "If anybody says that your name is Hare Krishna," barked the sergeant, "I'll slap your head so hard it'll go through the wall." The men were led into cells that smelt of urine and vomit, while the ladies sat on the cold bench. And there they stayed until all the other devotees bailed them out at dawn next morning. For the police, it was all in a night's work, and for the devotees, it was yet another opportunity to remember Krishna and pray for the strength to execute the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The council's attempts to rid Sydney's streets of Sankirtan activities were well reported in the press. As a consequence, many favorable articles began appearing regularly in both local and national publications. The Bulletin published a front page, full-color photo of devotees chanting blissfully on the back lawn of the Sydney Temple. The article, "Australia's Fringe Face," had taken a sympathetic stance on the devotees' harassment and accurately described the daily devotional regime of the Sydney Temple. This encouraged other well-circulated magazines to run feature articles. The Australian Post, a slightly less than respectable but large circulation journal, reported on those gentle skinheads, and the Australian Women's Weekly devoted 3 pages to an article entitled in huge letters, "Hare Krishna." The front page of Sydney's Sunday Telegraph on 30th April was emblazoned with the title, "Chanting with the Cottage Cultists dash inside Hare Krishna," below its masthead. A long and well-written article introduced the Australian public to the devotees' daily life and Krishna conscious philosophy, as well as photographs of the deities and devotees engaged in kirtan. Notable in many of the articles was the Maha Mantra quoted in full and the liberal mention of Hare Krishna. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual value of a published article was the number of times the words Krishna appeared. By this criteria, these articles were certainly noteworthy. Well, that's our first segment here for this morning, afternoon, and we'll read a little bit more about the ongoing contest between the Sydney City Council and the Hare Krishna devotees chanting and distributing literature on the streets. Right now we'll punctuate our reading with a couple of rap songs by yours truly, which have to do with the Bhagavan Gita. First is a condensation of some of the main points of the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God, based on a book by Kalakantadas called The Rap of God. And then we're going to present a little something called Krishna Love in the middle of there by MC Yogi. And then if my voice holds out, we'll sing the Madhurastakam in English and verse by Balabhacharya Das as well. So let's see how we go here. In the Bhagavad Gita, Song of the Supreme, Krishna streams to his team member Arjuna, the cream of all the devotees. Arjuna, the things you do every day, the gifts you give, and every tasty veggie dish, offer them to me with love and see your soul enriched. A cup of water makes me smile, though I could drink an ocean. Flower, fruit, and leaf are fine if they're offered in devotion. Keeping me in the center, your karma will never interfere, because loving devotional service is the dharma of the spiritual atmosphere. I don't play any favorites. Everyone gets what they desire. Someone longs for me in bhakti, I'm naturally inspired. Even if you mess up a time or two, I won't make any complaint. Just rise up again, you can still shine like a saint. The undiluted souls, Mahatmas, know reality, and feeling my protection, their affection flows to me. They sing my sacred names in voices sweet and stake their rightful claims at my lotus feet. I see, maintain, and shelter all. I am the seed of everything. I am everyone's best friend. I'm the beginning, the middle, and the end. Arjuna, tell the people boldly, Krishna devotee never dies. Men and women, high and lowly, everybody's equal in my eyes. Anybody who comes to me will never be denied. Bhakti Yoga will set you free. Success is guaranteed. Think of me, become my devotee, and you will live with me eternally. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We'll sprinkle in a few verses from the Gita itself. Manmana bhava madbhakta, mam yagi, mam namaskaru, mam evasisam satyate, pratijana priyushume. Mahatmanas tu mam parta, devam prakritam vashidam, vedantyananyama, mama bhutam, maheshwaram. Satadam kirtiyanto mam, yatantas chadrida radaha, namasyantas chamam nitya, tishanti charamati cha. Yad karosi yadishnasi yajdahosi dasyat, yadabhashasi kanti yantad karushanarpanam. Sarvadharman parijagya mamekam saranam raja, aham tam sarva papibhyo, mokshaisi mahasuchaha. Now this is a paraphrase from the 10th chapter called The Opulences of the Absolute. No truth exists besides myself. Do not be misled. Everything is strung on me as pearls on a thread. I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon. I am the syllable Om, the strength of the strong. I am the fragrance of the earth. I am the forest fire bright red. I am the blazing sunset. I am the alphabet from A to Z. I am a seed of everything. From me all things arise. I am the faith of the great men. I am the wisdom of the wise. I am the vigor of the strong, not triggered by greed or lust. Sex life comes from me when righteous, pure, and just. I am the Paramatma dwelling in everyone's heart. I am the life of all that lives. I am the ending, middle, and start. I am the sacred Vishnu, and of all kinds of light. I am the sun, stars, and moon at night. The Himalayan mountains, indivisible, unshakable, indicate me. I am the unlimited, endless ocean. Of vegetation, I am the banyan tree. I am Kandarpa, god of love, like Cupid with his bow. Of cows, I am Sarabi, who gives milk in limitless flow. Of hymns, I am Gayatri. Of seasons, I am spring. Of months, I am November, time of peace and harvesting. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Of men, I am the king, the lord of death, who judges everything. Of beasts, I am the lion. Of conquerors, I am time. Of rivers, I am the Ganges, flowing liquid and sublime. I am the wind that purifies the spirit apart from the flesh. I am logic, pure, concise. I am all devouring death. All this is but a tiny indication. There is no end to my manifestations. Every opulent, beautiful creation springs from but a spark of my radiation. What need to go on, Arjuna, with a more exhausted list? A tiny spark of me pervades all that exists. Since I create the dual worlds of spirit and of flesh, the wise prioritize my service, keeping their hearts forever fresh. My devotees always think of me, follow me all the time, discussing me incessantly. I am theirs and they are mine. Because they always serve in love and never swerve aside, from within their hearts I cause ignorance to subside. The wattage of knowledge I shine from within so bright, and in deep parental affection guide them to the light. In the Bhagavad Gita, Song of the Supreme, Krishna streams to his team member Arjuna, the cream of all the devotees. Arjuna, the things you do every day, the gifts you give, and every tasty veggie dish, offer them to me with love and see your soul enriched. Keeping me in the center, your karma will never interfere, because loving devotional service is the dharma of the spiritual atmosphere. Sri Krishna, your pure charisma, your flute playing is so intoxicating. Singing your song down in Vrindavan, pleasing the gopis and all the bhakti yogis. In a trance you dance a divine romance of Rasa Lita with Radharani. In the Bhagavad Gita you teach us bhakti. Your divine pastimes are so sublime. They fill the heart and refresh the mind. They give relief just like the monsoon from the lingering heat. You lifted a mountain with your little finger. You're the sweet butter thief known as Baby Gopal, the killer of Kamsa, the lover of Radha. Your complexion's dark blue just like the ocean. I offer my devotion with all of my emotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. This last is by Bhagavan, called Madhurastakam, 8 verses glorifying the of Lord Krishna. Your lips are sweet, your face, your eyes are sweet, your smile is sweet, your loving heart is sweet, and your walking is sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Your words are sweet, your personality is sweet, your garments are sweet, your posture is sweet, your movements are sweet, your surroundings are sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Flute playing is sweet, your footprints are sweet, your hands are sweet, your feet are sweet, your dancing is sweet, your friendship is sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Your singing is sweet, your drinking is sweet, your eating is sweet, your dreaming is sweet, your rupa, your form is sweet, your tilak, the mark in your forehead is sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Your deeds are sweet, your conquests are sweet, your thieving of hearts is sweet, your loving relationships are sweet. The things that are offered to you are sweet, your countenance is sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Your necklace is sweet, your flower garland is sweet, your Yamuna river is sweet, her rippling waves are sweet, her waters are sweet, her lotus flowers are sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. The gopis, your cowherd girlfriends are sweet, your leelas are sweet, your meetups are sweet, your conquests are sweet, your manners are sweet, your sidelong glances are sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. The gopas, your cowherd boyfriends are sweet, the cows are sweet, your walking stick is sweet, your unlimited creation is sweet, your heroism is sweet, and your victories are sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Now in the original verse, the Madhurastakam, 8 verses by Balabhacharya, glorifying the sweetness of Lord Krishna. Adaram, Madadam, Badadam, Badadam, Nayaram, Madadam, Asadam, Badadam, Ridiyam, Madadam, Gamadam, Madadam, Madadadi, Paterakaram, Madadam, Pacharam, Madadam, Charita, Madadam, Basadam, Madadam, Bamita, Madadam, Charita, Madadam, Brahmatam, Madadam, Madadadi, Paterakaram, Madadam, Veno, Madado, Reno, Madada, Panimano, Paro, Madadam, Nitam, Madadam, Sakyam, Madadam, Madadadi, Paterakaram, Madadam, Gita Madadam, Pita Madadam, Bhakta Madadam, Sakam Madadam, Madadadi Baterakaram Madadam, Karanam Maranam Taranam Maranam Haranam Maranam Ramatam Maranam Bamitam Maranam Samitam Maranam Maradadi Patera Karam Maranam Gunja Maradam Mala Marada Yamana Maram Vichim Maradam Salalam Maradam Kamaram Maradam Maradadi Patera Karam Maradam Gopi Marada Lila Marada Yukta Maradam Makam Maradam Krishna Maradam System Maradam Maradadi Patera Karam Maradam Gopa Marada, Gopo Maradam, Yastio Maradam, Sistio Maradam, Dalitam Maradam, Palitam Maradam, Maradadi Patera Karam Maradam. Your lips are sweet, your face is sweet, your eyes are sweet, your smile is sweet, your loving heart is sweet, your walking is sweet. Everything's completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Your words are sweet, your personality is sweet, your garment is sweet, your posture is sweet, your movements are sweet, your surroundings are sweet. Everything's completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Your flute playing is sweet, your footprints are sweet, your hands are sweet, your feet are sweet, your dancing is sweet, your friendship is sweet, everything's completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Your singing is sweet, your drinking is sweet, your eating is sweet, your sleeping is sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Your rupa, your form is sweet, your tilak, the mark in your forehead is sweet, everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Your deeds are sweet, your conquests are sweet, your thieving of hearts is sweet, your loving relationships are sweet. The things that are offered to you are sweet. Your countenance is sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Your necklace is sweet. Your flower garland is sweet. Your Irving moon is sweet. Her rippling waves are sweet. Her waters are sweet. Her lotus flowers are sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. The gopis, your cowherd girlfriends are sweet. Your leelas are sweet. Your meetups are sweet. Your adventures are sweet. Your manners are sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. The gopas, your cowherd boyfriends are sweet. The cows are sweet. Your walking stick is sweet. Your unlimited creation is sweet. Your heroism is sweet. Your victories are sweet. Everything is completely sweet about the Lord of sweetness. Shri Krishna, your pure charisma, your flute playing is so intoxicating, singing your song down in Vrindavan, pleasing the gopis and all the devotees, filling the hearts of all the bhakti yogis. In a trance you dance the divine romance of Rasa Lila with Radharani. In the Bhagavad Gita you teach us bhakti. Your divine pastimes are so sublime they fill the heart and refresh the mind, giving relief just like the lingering heat after the month. You lifted him out with your little finger. You're the sweet butter thief known as Baby Gopal, the killer of Kamsa, the lover of Radha. Your complexion's dark blue like the ocean. I offer my devotion with all of my devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that was our second selection, which was a medley of songs based on the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God, which is a conversation between Lord Sri Krishna and his friend and disciple Arjuna. We'll get back to our exciting excerpts from the Great Transcendental Adventure here by Kormaji, talking about how the Sydney and Melbourne City Councils are arresting, jailing the devotees and trying to ban them from chanting and distributing literature in 1972 in the continent down under. So it says here, the enthusiastic members of the Melbourne Temple were also facing increasing opposition in the streets of Melbourne. The Melbourne City Council had adopted a new city bylaw which effectively banned unauthorized demonstrations and meetings in the city square and other public places. A number of specific actions had been prohibited under the new law, among them preaching and playing musical instruments. 12 devotees that recently appeared in the district court had been convicted of collecting money in a Melbourne street without the permission of the city council. The stipendiary magistrate had seen fit to impose fines and award costs against the defendants, despite their plea of not guilty. The apparent court victory was to be the first skirmish in a long and bitter feud with the council. An excessively zealous city bylaws officer, George Henley, known to the devotees as Square Jaw, started an ongoing, well-organized offensive to rid Melbourne's streets of the devotees. They were unsure whether Square Jaw had a personal dislike for them or whether he had been chosen from among his colleagues as a suitable to harass them. Some devotees suspected that both interpretations were correct. Either way, Square Jaw, a tall, large-bodied, barrel-chested man with a fearsome visage, dark, piercing eyes, and bushy eyebrows, reminding some of Lucifer, seemed to be always in the right place at the right time. He had an uncanny ability to be lurking close by, just as a Back to Godhead magazine and money changed hands on the streets. Suddenly he would appear as if out of nowhere, either in his gray uniform or in plain clothes, always with a notebook in hand. Amazingly, he had memorized practically all the devotees' names, both Western and Vedic. He would charge the devotees on the spot with the relevant crime, and they would receive a summons to soon after appear in court. Squarejaw was hard and unrelenting in his vendetta, dealing with Sankirtan in Melbourne particularly austere. Apparent success by city council officials inspired local councils into action. The St. Kilda Council moved to revoke permission for 14 Burnett Street to be used as a place of worship because, quote, such use would be detrimental to the existing amenity of the area. No car parking is provided. Skipping forward here. One chilly morning, the double-decker bus, which you heard about in our last segment, arrived in Melbourne, and Madhudvisa Swami, the new leader in Australia, alighted with an enthusiastic team of celibate students, brahmacharis, all dressed in new saffron cloth and wrapped in matching brown shawls. They were on a special mission to stage Melbourne's first Ratha Yatra parade. Although something new for Melbourne, Ratha Yatra was one of the world's most ancient festivals. So here's a sub-story here, right in the midst of all the efforts on the part of the Melbourne City Council to shut us down. Madhudvisa inaugurated an entirely new preaching effort, which was to inaugurate the annual Festival of the Chariots. So started to organize that with a great zest right in the middle of all the persecutions on the part of the Melbourne City Council. So we've got two stories running concurrently. One is the persecution and one is the Ratha Yatra. We'll finish off these next week. We probably won't have time to talk about all of them. But let's start here with the narration of the first historic Ratha Yatra held in Australia. Okay. Since time beyond memory, the celebration of Lord Krishna, known as Jagannath, meaning Lord of the Universe, had been honored with a great chariot parade at Jagannath Puri, a city in Orissa on the Bay of Bengal. Every summer, millions of pilgrims gathered from all over India to join in the awesome and magnificent celebration in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead graced everyone, high-born or low, pure or impure, rich or poor, with his presence when he left his palatial temple and traveled in state to his peaceful summer retreat. The deity of Jagannath memorialized Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he manifested himself in Dwarka 50 centuries before. There, as part of his personal pastimes on earth, Lord Krishna had reigned as a king in dazzling splendor and revealed the unsurpassable opulence and majesty of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada had been particularly enthusiastic to establish the worship of Jagannath in the West, as he explained in one letter to a friend, quote, when we first start a temple, we start with Jagannath Swami. My Guru Maharaj recommended temples of Jagannath in these countries because he is kind even to the low and fallen people, end quote. Since 1967, ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, staged the ancient Ratha Yatra festival in many cities of the world. More recently, it was scheduled for London, Pittsburgh, Calcutta, San Francisco, Tokyo, and Melbourne. May and June 1972 saw devotees work tirelessly on the multifarious aspects of Ratha Yatra: fundraising, purchase and acquisition of materials, publicity, planning the actual parade, hiring a hall for after the parade, organizing a feast for thousands. Madhudvisa was well aware of the enormity of such an event. He had helped organize the 1969 and 1970 Ratha Yatras in San Francisco. Prabhupada was convinced that the festival was an important part of Krishna conscious culture. Prabhupada had personally told it itself was so spiritually potent that just by following the chariot of Lord Jagannath as it passed down the road, one would be liberated from repeated birth and death. Madhudvisa had also had his own special personal experience of the potency of the Ratha Yatra festival. It had first attracted him to become a devotee. Madhudvisa inspired others. Bhai Bobby, now an accomplished artist, drew up plans for the cart from studying pictures of the massive chariots in Puri. After corresponding with Nara Narayan, who had designed the first carts in America, she came up with a specially scaled-down version that would fit into a single Melbourne traffic lane. Notable also would be a special custom-made mechanism to lower and raise the silken canopy to avoid the overhead tram lines that spanned the city streets. Bhai Bobby decided on the final color scheme, the position of the colorful lawn motifs, the size of the deity platform, and the location of the fencing. She tended to even the smallest details, the dimensions of the spire, the designs of the kumbha, the parrots, the length of the flag, and even the angle of slope for the multicolored canopies. Work began under extreme weather conditions. The Melbourne winter of 1972 was a severe one. A vacant lot in Carlton was donated for the duration of the construction. Devotees labored day and night, and sometimes unknown men and women on a rugged, muddy site and volunteered their services for painting or construction. Once an old staggering drunk insisted on holding a kerosene lamp for hours so the devotees could work through the night. To the devotees, Jagannath, Krishna, the Lord of the universe, was personally, causelessly engaging these persons in his service. Some of these men and women became so inspired that they later became devotees. And where was Lord Jagannath? A Ratha Yatra parade held no meaning without the smiling, angular-faced deities of the Lord and his brother Balaram and sister Subhadra. Deepak, the Pujari, an American, remembers, quote, "One gray, overcast day I was out driving when I came upon an old sawmill. There I saw a huge seasoned log of hardwood lying in the ground. I purchased it and had it cut into 3 pieces, and then drove them back to the newly acquired Hare Krishna shop in Little Lonsdale Suite and set them up in the chilly loft. The Lord had come to Melbourne." Dwaipiana reminisces, "I had a desire, and one day it was fulfilled. Bhai Bobby asked me if I would like to help carve Lord Jagannath. I was thrilled and honored. Deepak came back from the sawmill with 3 logs, and we carried them upstairs to an area partitioned off from the mighty Apollo Gymnasium. We started with a chainsaw and then continued with hand tools. Deepak carved Lord Balaram, and I carved Subhadra and Jagannath. Finally, Nartaki painted them." Deepak recollects, "I remember daily entering that freezing loft. There was such a holy atmosphere. Each morning we would come and offer obeisances to the unfinished deities and then commence our work. It had such a powerful effect on us. To this very day, I have deep devotion for Lord Jagannath." Prabhupada's recent advice to Shyamasundar had inspired him to use his artistic talents, Shramananda, in Lord Krishna's service. He designed a poster to advertise the forthcoming festival. The purple and black placards were soon mounted on every available wall space around Melbourne, advertising a 5,000-year-old festival, singing, dancing, feasting, and celebration of the Lord of the universe. The poster also detailed a dance drama to be held in a downtown church hall after the parade. The history of the dance drama, the first of its kind for ISKCON, was an interesting one. Only weeks before, a leading dancer from the Netherlands Dance Theatre, currently touring Australia, had purchased one of Prabhupada's books from a devotee on the streets of downtown Melbourne. After reading the book, he had suddenly defected from the troupe in mid-season and moved into the temple in St. Kilda. This had caused considerable shockwaves through the dance world. Bhakta George, a.k.a. George Coleman, who only weeks before was performing naked on stage with the world's most controversial dance troupe, now danced fully dressed in saffron cloth outside a department store in Burke Street. George was both a stunningly expert dancer and an experienced choreographer. This inspired Madhudvisa to stage a Krishna-conscious dance drama for Ratha Yatra. Madhudvisa encouraged Mekhala to utilize her classical ballet training in the drama. Soon, selected devotees wrapped in coats and gloves were rehearsing in the cold loft above the Hare Krishna shop. The Little Fish, the story of the conditioned soul and its fall to the material world, would soon have its debut. We'll continue next week from page 209 in the Great Transcendental adventure book by Kurma to talk about what was the outcome of both the city and Melbourne city councils trying to ban the Hare Krishnas from their streets, as well as in the midst of all that, the outcome of the Ratha Yatra festival there in Australia. In the meantime, let's close our program out today with a song, a few songs actually, and what they do is we can't know everything that the Lord has in mind. It's just not possible. If we knew or could understand God's plans and how he works, then our brain would be God and God would not be God. So it's part of our exercise of faith to go along with the plan. It's like God is the driver. He drives up beside you on a country road and he says, get in, come for a ride with me. And we say, well, where are we going? He says, just get in, trust me. We say, well, is there a road map? He says, just get in. How many straightaways? How far are we going? Just get in. You can't insist on knowing everything in advance. God's asking you to just get in, sit in the passenger seat, and go for the ride, and trust him that he's fully in control. He's within the heart of every living being. He resides within the atom, and he is Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He is your well-wishing friend. Here's a medley of songs which hopefully will inspire us not to question or not to demand that we understand everything up front, but just to follow him, trust him, and serve him, recognizing that he's sovereign and that he has our best interests at heart. So the first one is a well-known song from which we get a vernacular phrase, the Lord moves in mysterious ways. That term comes from this song by William Cowper. Let me just raise the volume here, if the pad will simply cooperate with me. The Lord moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. He plants his footstep on the sea and rides upon the storm. Deep in unfathomable minds of never-failing skill, he treasures up his bright designs and works his never-failing will. Judge not the Lord by feeble sense, but trust him for his grace. Behind a frowning providence, he hides a smiling face. His purposes will ripen fast, unfolding every hour. The bud may have a bitter taste, but sweet will be the flower. Blind unbelief is shown to err and scan his work in vain. God is his own interpreter, and he will make it plain. Krishna's ways may twist and turn. My heart may ache, but my soul is no concern, because he makes no mistake. My cherished plans may go astray, my hopes may fade away, but I'll just trust in him to lead. Why? Because he knows the way. Though the night be dark and the light may take forever to break, I'll pin my faith in him, because he doesn't make any mistakes. There's so much I cannot see, and my eyesight's far too dim. Who am I to disagree? I'm just going to go along with him. For by and by the mist will lift, and the foggy night will fade. The rising sun will make it plain. He made not one mistake. My life is but a weaving between my God and me. I cannot choose the colors, but he worketh steadily. He often weaves sorrow, and I unfold his pride. Forget he sees the upper, and I only the underside. Not until the loom falls silent and the shuttle ceases to fly will Krishna unroll the canvas and reveal the reasons why. The dark threads are as needful in the weaver's skillful hand as are the threads of gold and silver in the pattern that he has planned. This last poem is by William Blake. It's called Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright. And it just gives you a sense that God is sovereign. It doesn't do any good to question him. He has his plans, he has his ways. Nothing is a surprise to God. And I read that since it was penned hundreds of years ago, this poem has been consistently the most popular of all poems written in the English language. See what you think of it, if you're not familiar with it already. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could frame the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp dare thy deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what decent deeper skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could frame the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp dare thy deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? Finish out here by repeating the first song again. In mysterious ways his wonders to perform, he plants his footsteps on the sea and rides upon the storm. Deep in other minds of never-failing skill, treasures up his bright designs and works his never-failing will. Ye fearful saints, fresh courage take, the clouds you so much dread are full with mercy and will break, and blessings on your head. Judge not the Lord by feeble sense, but trust him for his grace. Behind the frowning providence he hides a smiling face. His purposes will ripen fast, unfolding every hour. The bud may have a bitter taste, but sweet will be the flower. Blind unbelief is sure to err and scam in vain. God is his own interpreter, and he will make it plain. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we just concluded what I believe is the 14th episode, 14 weeks in a row at 1 o'clock, Sunday afternoons, Mountain Daylight Time. We've continued to tell the story of Krishna consciousness being established in the early 70s in Australia through the book, The Great Transcendental Adventure of Karma. Today we talked about the initial efforts of both the Sydney and Melbourne city councils to try and ban the Hare Krishnas from the streets of those cities, and simultaneously underneath that weight of persecution, Madhudvisa is inspired to organize the first gala Ratha Yatra festival in downtown Melbourne. We sort of started those two narrations. We'll finish both of those stories, let you know how they turned out next week. And this week's songs were based on the Bhagavad Gita, about the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. And that was, we also included a song, several songs in fact, about the bhakti, the intense devotion and service that Hanuman performed to the lotus feet of his eternal Lord and Master, Lord Ram. And as you just heard, we finished off with a song about how we should Lord and not question or demand and understand everything that he has in mind up front. So hopefully you benefited and became enriched by our weekly Krishna show. We'll be on later on this evening at 5:15 Mountain Daylight Time with another Chant for Change motivational talk called Keep Your Confidence. And we'll also have a beautiful kirtan before that talk and after that talk by Advaita Acharya. So if you like more of the same, please tune in this evening at 5:15 time. We have Srimad Bhagavatam classes also Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays at 7:30 a.m. If you enjoy these programs, please be sure and like and share them. Also, you're welcome to subscribe to our YouTube channel. In the meantime, until we meet again, don't forget to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.